Came here and I felt fit, but in terms of like Murderball fit, I wasn't fit. In order to do that, you have to have a lot of, not just respect for someone, but you have to really kind of love them almost as like your son.
Since you've come here, you've played under Marcelo Bielsa, one of the most unique, revered managers in world football. How would you describe Marcelo in just 3 words?
Meticulous, endearing, passionate.
Okay, because like his reputation is that he's very intense, which obviously you kind of alluded to there with meticulous. But the endearing and his being endearing and being passionate is how does that sort of manifest? How do you guys see that in the change room and stuff?
I say endearing because I feel like he's not the kind of person that you're going to go to and look for like an arm round and someone to kind of give you that boost. But in terms of the way he believes in us and the amount of time and stuff he puts into each individual player, like in order to do that you have to have a lot of not just respect for someone, but you have to really kind of love them almost as like your son. And I feel like there is that kind of relationship between him and all the players. So passion, that's summed up by the amount of the kind of detail he goes into with football, because there's managers who I'm sure go into a lot of detail, but to be able to go into that much detail you have to really, really love football and you have to really, really want to win. And I think he's so passionate about the game that it's rubbed off on all of us. And I mean, you see what he's done for all of us players and for what he's done for this football club.
I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the game that watches more football than him.
Nah, you'd struggle to find anyone. I think that he sees so many games in a day. Like, I don't know how many exactly, but he watches so much football and analyses so much football. His knowledge is just ridiculous.
And I mean, you say what he's done for the club, what he's done for you guys as players. This is your most successful spell anywhere, really, isn't it? So how would you say he's changed and evolved your playing game?
So when I first came to Leeds, you just struggled to find many managers that said I was a hard-working striker, or I was renowned as like being someone who gave 100. Not that I didn't give 100%, but was a really hard-working striker, would put in the yards. And I think he's changed that about me. He's kind of changed the way that I look at the game, the way that I work for my team.
Because he asks you to press both centre-backs, right? Like that's
yeah,
kind
so
of
it's part of like our team ethic is the way that we do press and we need to win the ball back. So he's not specifically said to me, you need to run from one centre-back to the other centre-back to the keeper. But we try and win the ball back as quick as we can because it gives us an advantage of scoring if we're close to their goal. So obviously the cynic could say that I'm being selfish because I win the ball back closer, so we've got more chance of scoring. But I know that it's going to benefit the team. So
after those loan spells at Borough, Palace, Burnley, Norwich, did it feel like you'd found your home when you arrived at Leeds? Everything seemed to click really early on.
Yeah, I think that there's probably 2 clubs that I really felt like I'd settled down properly. One was Middlesbrough, and then the second was Leeds. And obviously I've spent the longest time of my career at a single club here at Leeds. So to start with, it was actually quite difficult because obviously there's the nerves of coming to a new club and kind of hitting the ground running. And then I got injured, which kind of slowed things up. And to be honest, the rest of that season I was never fully back. And so I don't think the fans fully saw what I could do, and it took a little while for us to kind of strike up that rapport. But then once it did click, I think they understood what I could offer to the team, and obviously I settled in more, I was playing, I felt fit, I was happy. And generally when you're feeling good on the pitch, as a footballer you generally feel good off the pitch, so that kind of just made everything a lot more like seamless, and I've enjoyed living here, love the city, and obviously love playing for these.
What's the best thing about being managed by Bielsa, and what's the most challenging aspect of it?
Most challenging aspect is that as humans you always have that voice inside of you that's kind of like the negative moaner who doesn't want to do something or kind of resists to putting in the extra hard work, and is so demanding that what we are asked to do and what we need to do in order to in order to be ready to win a game on Saturday, but also in order to improve as players, that you kind of have to shut that voice out, because you know that what he's asking you to do is actually good for you, and you appreciate when you do it. You appreciate it, especially that a lot of us have worked with him for 3 or 4 years now, so we know that the reason why he demands so much is because he believes that we can do it, and the way we've grown just proves that. I think the best thing about working under him is that it's the feeling you get when you come off a pitch, and especially last year, the feeling we got when we came off a pitch, having been kind of written off when we'd just come up from the Championship, to dominating teams that were like established Premier League teams with our style of play that not many teams have done when they come up. I think that was kind of like, that was so rewarding.
So your role within that team, obviously you say there's a voice inside your head where you might not want to do all of that extra running, but you have to, especially because you're leading the press, right? And there's been a lot of analysis of other teams in the Premier League who aren't as good at pressing as Leeds are, let's say. So are you constantly aware that if you don't do your job without the ball to the best of your ability, like, you know, 150%, then it has a knock-on effect for the players behind you?
Yeah, and our press starts with the front. As I don't want to say it's slightly different to the way Liverpool and City do it, but there are kind of the common themes there. And if I'm kind of just half a yard off it, which it does happen some games, it throws off the whole team. And likewise with any other player, whoever it is, the first man who goes to press, if the second man's not directly where he should be, is a yard out of position, then the team can get cut open. So it's something that we work on a lot, and to be honest, the Murderball has probably helped give us that fitness that we can press and still have enough energy to attack as well when we have the ball. But we practice everything so much that we know it as players, and we know that what we should be doing. And when it comes down to the fact that it doesn't work, it's kind of us as players, our own human error. Whether it's just that lack of like concentration or focus.
You mentioned that you weren't fully fit for a lot of that first season, and if you're not fully fit, you can't really play from Bielsa to your maximum ability, can you? One of the famous parts of his training regime is, of course, Murderball. Why is it called Murderball? Can you explain how the game works?
So it started off as just 11v11, and there's cones in each person's individual position, and when the ball went out anywhere on the pitch, you would have to run back to your cone. The whistle would blow, you'd run back to your cone, and then whoever's ball it was, the keeper would start with it again, and then you'd press full throttle. And it was just non-stop sprinting, and it really was hard. And it's kind of evolved a little bit in terms of we don't have cones anymore, but it is really high intense. It's almost like pressing non-stop and attacking non-stop for a block of 5 minutes, 5 times. And it's just it's the hardest session of the week, but it's probably the most enjoyable session because it is kind of match realistic.
Does it make matches almost feel less intense than that? Or,
it is, because it's basically what the high intensity and the sprint distance, close to what you would do in a game, but crammed in, really crammed into a short space of time. So sometimes matches do actually feel slightly easier, and I think that's something that catches people who come to the club, new to the club. It catches them by surprise, because I remember when I first joined, I'd done Tony Pulis's pre-season away in Austria, which is getting up at 5, cycling up mountains and running down mountains, and that was really hard, and I thought that's the hardest pre-season I've ever done. But I came here and I felt fit, but in terms of Murderball fit, I wasn't fit, and so it took me 4 or 5 weeks to get up to speed, and then obviously got the injury, but it does take time to adjust.